Hello and welcome. You might be joining us from retreat. We are in Kennebunk, Maine this week on a crafting retreat Monday through Thursday. So I won't be able to come to my regular Facebook Live, and I wanted to share projects with you anyway. So I pre-recorded this video both for people in Kennebunk, and they'll get it at 9 a.m., and the people that watch my Facebook Lives every week. This is a very special class. So the retreat up in Kennebunk, we have 3 different make and take classes that were included with their week-long retreat. And I am going to share with you the Lighthouse Point bundle mini class. It was 3 cards, and boy, I'm so excited about these projects. They really are spectacular. So without further ado, I'm just going to flip the camera and we'll get going. So for starters, I thought I would show you the projects. These are pretty spectacular, and I thought, because we were by the ocean, how amazing it would be to offer some lighthouse projects. In their goodie bag, they got a full package of this in color glimmer paper, but I cut into another package to give them their make and takes. In addition, they received about $50 in product, so they're going to have to use their own dots for this project. And I recommended that they bring a take your pick tool and a basic toolkit to get these assembled. Let's jump in. I want to show you how I cut the designer paper, the glimmer paper, to make this work. So I'm going to bring in my trimmer, and let's see, we're good right there. I'm going to start by cutting off 1 inch. So I'm going to put my my Tahitian tied paper at the 5-inch marker, and I'm going to cut 1 inch of the glimmer paper off, the lightest side. And then I'm going to flip this and cut it at 3 3/4. Okay, now I have a 5 by 3 3/4. So you may wonder how I got to this. Well, I'm going to cut it again on the dark side at 2. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to prep both cards right now so that we can get going. Now you can flip this over, and that will give you the lighter side, or you can see that if you just flip them, there's a bunch of ways you can go. You can flip them so that the darkest side is against, but whatever you do, you want to flip it, but I like it the lighter end against the darker end, because then you really get that ocean horizon line. So let's go again while we have our paper trimmer out, and I'm going to cut the lightest side off of the darkest paper. This is Starry Sky, and again I'm just cutting it 1 inch, so that brings my paper down to 5, and this is 3 3/4. And then I'm going to cut this again at 2. So that's how I arrived at these horizon lines. Isn't that cool? Okay, so now that you've seen that, they're going to get a complete package that looks like this, and everything's pre-cut for them. But my package looks a bit different because I wanted to show you how the cuts work. So I'm going to take from the gray granite cardstock out of the package. And look, I lost a cherub in there. I need this too. And I'm gonna just start by getting the make and take card nearby. And I'm going to adhere this. So this white is 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. It's just a little bit bigger than my Tahitian tied glimmer paper. And then we will put this at the bottom, and it's seamless when it's all together. It's so cool. All right, so I'm going to layer that right in. And when you run your finger over this, you can't even tell that it's 2 pieces of paper. It is so awesome. Okay, so I'm going to start. I cut this designer series paper to go behind my lighthouse, and I am going to just add it with a little bit of liquid glue. Try not to get your glue too thick, or it'll end up all over your hands, and you want to avoid that. I'm going to put the stripe side out and just stick that down and wait a second. Okay. Then I'm going to figure out where the sky goes, right here. And I'm going to actually cut that top piece. Whoop. See, that's why you gotta let it set up. I'm gonna cut that top piece right across and let that go. And then I'm gonna cut this in half to get it ready to go behind my sentiment. And while I'm waiting for all that to dry and set up, I am going to stamp my sentiment. So sending you love and light. This is such a great sentiment. We are stamping it in Sweet Sorbet. And I will add a little bit of adhesive to the back and stick these down on the outside, like that. So it doesn't really matter how far it is. I might want a little less actually, but whatever you do on one side, do on the other side. So this is just some die cuts that came out of the Lighthouse dies. So cool. Okay, and then I'll put some dimensionals on the back of that and just set it aside for a second. Okay, so I can attach this to my card front like that. I just love this. It's so fun. And then here is my lighthouse top, and I'm going to use liquid glue for this. I think it'll stick better against the glimmer paper. And I'm going to have it point to the white. So I'm going to just have it point to that white layer, and that's a good spot to set up. Next, I want to take this Sahara sand layer, and I want to rip it towards me. So I'm going to rip, 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 so that I get this cool like sandy edge. I'm going to set that aside for a second. And then I'm going to bring in the Sahara sand ink pad, and I'm going to stamp rocks all over. So I'm going to try not to completely overlap, but and don't be afraid to flip it over. Like I think I was stamping the wrong side up. It doesn't matter. It's going to look good. It's more like a collage stamp. Okay, so I'm going to layer this on also with liquid glue. And this fits right at the very bottom of that glimmer paper to make our scene, so to speak. Okay. And then we're going to attach the lighthouse so that it's right at the pedestal, and it's dry now. So I can put a little bit of liquid glue and attach that right underneath that pedestal. And then this little guy, this is the fence that goes around the lighthouse at the top. And we'll attach that with liquid glue as well. Oh my gosh, isn't this fun? It's so dynamic. All right, so I'm gonna leave it like that. And then I'm gonna take my baker's twine, about 16 inches here, and I'm gonna fold it in half and cut it in half. So just a pair of scissors. And then I'm gonna tie it in a knot on both sides. So I get 2 pieces of the in color baker's twine. that just came out. And then I will, whoop, hopefully I got it. Ah, my knot came out. Let's go. And then I'm going to add a little bit of adhesive right at the line of the horizon. And I'm going to go up and down. I'm going to make like an S, like Celine. Okay. So there's my nautical kind of knot thing. And here's the sentiment. And I'm going to stick this right over the top and attach it down. So finally, I'm going to bring in, and if you're at retreat, you need your dots. So dig them out of your bag and just pick a couple. I'm going to take a big one for the bottom. And I love these because they're not all one color. So this will really show up against the color. And then I'm going to take another one and put it at the top. And then a baby. And that is the first project. Okay, moving on to project 2. Again, you're going to want to go into your kit and pick up all the pieces from that dark layer. Whoop, I picked up all the pieces from the next one too. From that dark layer up. So I have this white, and this white and this white I think are the same size. They're, again, perfect for layering that designer paper on, the glimmer paper. So let's get that on there first. One piece is for the inside of the project because it's a dark card base. But I'm just going to layer that horizon on like this. Then I'm going to find the ground again. And you remember this, right? We're going to rip towards us, but this time we don't need to stamp that because it's black. And this is Seal Plus that I'm using. I'm going to put the ground in. Here's my lighthouse. And I cut 2 pieces even though it's a silhouette because this is pretty, but I don't know. I really, there's such value in cutting the extra piece because even though it's black on black, you do get that detail when you put them together. It's nighttime, but you can still see it. So this is what we're gonna do. Oh, and you know what? I almost forgot. Whoop, whoop. Here. So I cut these 2 light beams out of the Parakeet Party, the lightest side of the Parakeet Party designer paper. So what I'm gonna do here is use the die cut leftover piece. Whoops, I almost messed that up. To cut this down fussy and just fit it over the hole there. So I'm gonna need a little bit of glue closer. And again, you wanna be careful when you do this because otherwise it could be all over you. But I'm gonna cover that, and hopefully I did okay. Let me see. I think I'm a little bit outside the lines here. Oh yeah, so we're okay. So once that's all covered, then I can lay this down on top of the other thing. So don't be like me. Don't skip that part. There we go. So pretty. Okay. So that's going to eventually go there. But before I do anything else, I want to figure out where my light beams are going to come out of. I wanted to make them kind of equal, and maybe we'll put this one in the middle. But this one is going to go all the way to the edge like that. So I'm going to glue that down while I have it in the spot that I want it. And I'm going to have it go to the edge of the white. And then I'm going to kind of bring this over, and I want the light beam to almost be at the point, but I don't want to, I want to have it be under there. Okay, so like that. And then I'm going to cut this down a little bit. Let's see if that's enough. So I'll stick this under the other side, and I'd like it to go to the white without being over. So let me go a little bit more. I can still go underneath a little bit, so I'm just gonna kind of wing it. And know that my lighthouse is still movable. And I'm gonna stick this to the edge and point it at the other light beam. Okay? Coolness. And then this should fit over the point on both sides. Hopefully. Just barely. Okay. So because it's so close, I'm going to put a little glue. Last time I didn't need to, but it's fine. I love it. Okay. So here we go. Ta-da. So it is a little fussy, but it's so fun. Oh my gosh. And these cards are just, that horizon line makes me so happy. Made with the glimmer paper. Okay, so I'll let that set up for a second. And then we're going to do the same treatment with the ribbon. So I'm going to just fast forward the video. We'll cut it in half. I'm going to tie it tie both ends in a knot. Looky there, this video stuff is kind of fun. And I'm going to stamp the sentiment, "Your light shines brighter than you know," on this die cut. Then I'm going to flip it over and put dimensionals on the back. And although I have a few dimensionals on here, I didn't peel them all off. I only peeled off 3. I'm going to set that to the side for a moment. And then I'm going to add some Seal Plus. And I'm going to do the same the same S shape. So just like the last card, we're going to go down and up. Oh, I was a little excited on the end there. Here, let's take a little less. So down and up and down and up. There we go. And then this will stick right on top. Oh my gosh. Is that not the coolest card ever? Oh my gosh. And I did give the people at retreat both cutouts, but they're only going to use one to put behind the lighthouse room. Such a cool card. These are probably my favorite projects in a very long time. Oh, I was dreaming about this glimmer paper because it was in their goodie bag and what to do with it, and I really wanted to make it special and make them feel like they got a wow. So that's the second project. Okay, the final project is actually going to bring in blending brushes. Let's start by taking a look at the finished project. And I'm going to pull all the pieces out of the little bag. If you're at retreat, this is the last project in your bag. But I also did give you envelopes. So it's just from the Orchid Oasis up. Okay, so then this piece is a little bit bigger. So don't get tripped up. This piece is actually for the inside of the card. Make sure that when you start, by measuring that you got the right one. I know, sounds silly. So this is the new masking paper from Stampin' Up, and I gave everybody a piece to try out. And it may take you a second to get to it, but it is cut already, and I am going to mask off the ocean underneath. So here we go. I'm gonna put my mask, I don't know, about 2 inches up and make sure that it's sealed down here, okay? Then I'm gonna bring in my Tahitian Tide ink pad and a blending brush. And I'm gonna go right into the ink pad, sponge off a little, and then I'm gonna create a horizon line there. Now I'm not gonna go too crazy yet, because while I have my line here, I'm gonna open the Sahara Sand ink pad and make some ground for our lighthouse to stand on. So here's the lighthouse. Ta-da. We need stuff for it to stand on. So I'm just gonna layer this on. Da-da-da-da-da. And then I'm gonna bring those rocks back in. So it doesn't have to be standing on a perfect surface. You can flip them. You can make one side higher, one side lower. It doesn't matter. But what's cool about this is you haven't finished adding the blue, so the blue won't be on your rocks. So now you can finish adding the blue, and this side is going to be a bit darker than the top of our card. So I'm just going for it. I'm going in the middle, and I'm sponging off a little bit on my paper here. But I'm going right up to where the rocks are and then stopping. Okay? So then once that's all masked off and we're all happy, then we got to get the masking paper off. And I found it to be real sticky, so I don't know if you saw when I put it on. I didn't burnish the top at all, but it doesn't matter. It's on there good. So just go easy. I found kind of coming back this way helped a bit for me. But look at that line. Whew. If you end up having any adhesive left over, I would recommend having an adhesive remover handy. But this is like super, super sticky, which means that my horizon line's gorgeous. There's no residue of ink unless I get it from my fingers. So also be careful of that when you're doing this in the class, guys. So you can hold on to that paper. I would say stick it right to the bag because you can reuse it as long as you're using Tahitian Tide, right? So now that I have my beautiful horizon line, I'm going to be careful when I add color, and I'm going to start by adding color around the outside to form my clouds or whatever, my cloudless day. And I could do a sunshine or whatever, but we're going to put the lighthouse on here, and there's plenty more to do. So I'm just going to keep it as simple as I can. The sun's on the other side. It's a nice bright day. And every time you do this, it's going to be different. And I would recommend a small amount of ink to start, because once you put too much, that's it. You can't go back. And make sure that you sponge off every time you pick up the ink with the blending brush. I think I'm going to stop there. I know it's a little bit lighter than the first one that I did, but I like it a lot. So I'm leaving it there. Then I'm going to bring in my Orchid Oasis and my gray granite ink pad, and I'm going to bring in the shape that I die cut. We die cut this, and I'm going to stamp it on the lighthouse shape so I can see through it. Should be fairly easy to do that. Famous last words I'll probably miss. Look at how pretty that is. Okay. If it's too dark, you can always stamp off and go the next layer down. So if you like it lighter, go lighter. If you like it darker, go darker. They both work. Here are the stripes from my lighthouse. And I don't like where I hit that at all. See at the top, there's a line. It should be lined up with the panel there. So for that, I'm going to use the lighter one. And then I'm going to use the same ink to stamp my sentiment. Always here for you. Wow, that's so pretty. Okay, I'm going to stick this on dimensionals. Then you remember the deal with this. It's the same length. I'm going to cut it in half and tie it in a knot on both sides. When I put the adhesive on my card, I'm going to do it where the lighthouse will be. So I'm going to go this way this time. And I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to cut that so that's even. Even Steven. And then I'll start with the knot out here and make my little S, and it'll stick out on the sides of the lighthouse. I'm like, it'll stick, and then I stuck it to myself. That's funny. Okay, so here's my little S shape again. And then I've already peeled off the backing of the dimensionals. If you want, you can add Wink of Stella to this. And then this will just layer onto the Tahitian tied layer underneath, and then onto the card base. I stamped my words on the first one a little bit crooked, so the whole thing ended up crooked, but as long as your words are right, that's what matters. So if you ever stamp crooked like I do sometimes, just make the whole panel crooked, make your words straight. Oh, this is so pretty. So, thanks for joining us this week. This is a little taster retreat. If you're interested in joining us for the fall retreat, it is September 9th through the 11th, and I will be releasing that the next day or so to the general public. The people who came in March got first dibs, and I'm getting ready to open it up to the world. So I hope to see you in Maine. Thanks again.